Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guest today is Eric Moore, the VP and SMIT Delivery Manager at Leidos. Eric, great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sure. And so SMIT, Service Management and Integration. Leidos recently won that contract. Can you tell us what that's all about and what you're doing for the Navy?
Yeah, we're excited to be on the contract finally, and it is the evolution of what people probably refer to as the NGEN contract historically, right. And it's really the evolution of about 20 years of the Navy taking what was originally the NMCI, the Navy and Marine Corps Internet, and expanding that network, eventually splitting it and the Marine Corps having its own network, and then bringing all of that back together with the NMCI network, the MCSEN network, and what's called OneNet, which is the OCONUS Navy network, back under one umbrella with the express intent of modernizing and transforming that network to support the Navy and Marine Corps of tomorrow.
And I understand NMCI might be the largest network in the world, internal network in the world, right? What goes into operating something that big?
Yeah, I mean, it's been referred to that way. I don't know how to test that, right. but it's very large, both in terms of device counts on the network, number of users of the network, and probably more importantly in terms of the criticality of the mission that it supports. What goes into operating it is a lot of experience and expertise that we as a company have from operating networks of similar scale across the DoD, but also a lot of people that support this customer across the world to deliver that capability for the Navy and Marine Corps.
Sure, and so obviously networks are always transforming and modernizing, and that's the theme of this program. And so how is the Navy thinking about transforming that large network, and what is Leidos doing to carry that forward?
Yeah, so I think what I would say to begin is that, we know that it's probably been a frustrating maybe 12, 18 months certainly for the users of these networks as the contract transition was occurring. It's taken quite a while for us to be able to get on contract, get in the seat, and actually be able to start delivering the transformation that this contract really called for. The previous contracts, the Navy was spending a lot of energy on turning what was a contractor-owned, contractor-operated network into a government-owned, contractor-operated network on the case of the NMCI network. And that gives then the Navy the flexibility to start implementing the transformation and modernization that they're looking for. And so now that we're here, we're really excited to be able to start delivering what people have been waiting for, and this contract really allows us to bring. We at Leidos think about this really within the context of multi-domain operations. And we think of really three pillars of capability that we have that we bring to our customers, right? So digital infrastructure and cybersecurity, which this contract clearly squarely falls within, mission application support, and then platform integration, right? And what we see as we work modernization and transformation across all those initiatives is how do we bring the three pillars of capabilities that we have together? Because it's now about the integration of those capabilities to really meet the needs of the warfighter and the needs of the mission. And so while this contract is very clearly in the digital infrastructure and cyber work, right, it is absolutely how do we use that to enable or to bring other capabilities in those other elements within the multi-domain operations space.
Sure, and of course, cloud computing is such a central part of the digital infrastructure at DoD and across government these days. What role does cloud play in this specific work?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and cloud is a really big term. It carries a lot of implications with it, and so I like to try to focus on, to your point, what are the outcomes, right? Why cloud, and what does it do for us and for the customers that we support? And what I would say is it enables sort of flexibility, adaptability that our customers need, right? That the Navy needs, the Marine Corps need to be able to maneuver their networks and their capabilities as situations in the world demand, right? Whether it's a conflict or whether it's COVID, the ability to maneuver the network and actually be able to deliver the capabilities that the users of that network need is of utmost importance. And so the cloud is a strong enabler for that. It's very hard to maneuver the network when you're tethered to physical data centers, right? And when you have outdated and outmoded technology in your install base. And so the move to the cloud across both the application and management components of the capabilities that the network deliver allows for the network to change positions, right? Redeploy in different physical locations more easily, and continue to modernize as commercial technology evolves, which is really hard when you're in a physical install base.
And one of the challenges, of course, that the Navy and Marine Corps have is that they operate a truly global network dispersed across vast remote areas like the Asia Pacific region. What challenges are you confronting in trying to modernize that kind of network?
Yeah, I think the first thing for us to understand is that the different components of this enterprise contract are going to continue to operate elements of what they do differently, right? So the Marine Corps has unique requirements from the Navy, and the Navy CONUS has different requirements than OCONUS, as you pointed out. But one thing that this contract does do is bring all of those capabilities under one contract vehicle and allow us to develop with the Navy truly enterprise scale services. And that brings with it a lot of value and the ability to target investments and create divestiture opportunities for the Navy to focus their money in the right place. One of the challenges that we've experienced with really truly sort of generational enterprise scale transformation is they tend to happen in sort of one of two ways, right? Either you have one party who's very politically connected and powerful, and they exert their view and their vision on everybody else. And that ultimately fails because the enterprise services don't actually meet the needs of the entire enterprise. Or you end up in sort of death by paralysis, right? Where everybody, because you have this enterprise problem you're trying to solve, everybody's bringing their perspective to the table. There's a lot of emotion, politics, horse trading, and nothing gets done. And so what we're really bringing, I think, is a third way to do this, which is really trying to bring a really quantitative, analytical, rigorous, but agile process to the Navy to allow them to bring transformation to the sailors and Marines that they need to provide services to. And what that really means for us is that we go out to all the stakeholders with the Navy and seek their input on what they value, not what they want, but what they value. And then we take that value dimension that they've offered to us, and we take all of the possible transformative initiatives, and we actually run it through an algorithm and determine which of those candidate initiatives will deliver the best value to the broadest range of stakeholders that the enterprise is meant to support. And by doing this, we take all the emotion out of it. It's a mathematical exercise about what can we deliver that will most positively impact the entire enterprise. And so we're already seeing really good progress in just a handful of months of being able to start executing this process with the Navy. It's going into helping support the planning for FY22 transformative initiatives. We're already underway with planning for FY23. And this process gets recycled and sort of re-energized every 6 months, so it's not static. It's very agile. As priorities change, as things in the world cause value equations to differ, we can change the transformation roadmap for the Navy.
So you're kind of using artificial intelligence in the internal processes to determine how to best kind of serve the different needs across the Navy and Marine Corps.
Yeah, it's definitely an algorithmic approach, right, to try to remove the biases that are natural in human sort of interaction, right, and instead just focus on, based on what people really value, what will deliver that the best. And one of the things that we're doing as a part of that is we've got metrics that we're going to measure in advance of any of these transformation initiatives that are aligned to these value dimensions that the stakeholders have all weighed in on. And we'll measure that after and as we're introducing transformation, and that'll allow us to show that the value that the stakeholders using this network were seeking, the transformation initiatives that we actually went and executed, we're able to deliver on those.
Yeah, and speed and agility are recurring buzzwords, of course, at DoD when it comes to modernization and transformation, but Can you put any sort of detail around, the metrics and how you're measuring that progress and achieving speed and agility to a certain extent?
Yeah, I think speed, agility. Another one that I would say is really important is sort of user experience, right? Which is difficult to measure, but really, really critical and important for us to figure out ways to measure and seek improvement on. I think again, I would point back to some of the cloud initiatives that the Navy has and that we're helping to deliver, right? Whether it's the Microsoft 365 initiatives going on throughout DoD, but certainly within the Navy, or generally moving mission and enterprise workloads to cloud platforms. By doing that, we produce an ability to to your question, more rapidly modernize those capabilities as the infrastructure platforms continue to grow and commercial investment provides more capabilities, but also deploy them in different places. So you start to think about how do we get these enterprise capabilities closer to the tactical edge so that when we've got decisions that need to be made in remote or DDIL sort of environments, we have the ability to provide those capabilities and resources that the enterprise provides in those situations. So we really want to be able to see how can we push the power and value of the enterprise as close to the fight, as close to the edge as possible.
Yeah. And so you just highlighted, collaboration tools essentially. Mm-hmm. What are some other enterprise services that you're excited about, that the Navy, Marine Corps are excited about?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. We have a large catalog of enterprise services, and I think one thing that's exciting, sort of as it is right now today, is that catalog of services is available to the entire Department of the Navy, which it didn't used to be before these contracts were all brought together. So, if the Marine Corps wants to procure some services that currently the Navy is procuring, they can absolutely go do that through this contract vehicle. So that's right out of the gate something that is really fantastic. I think one of the other areas that we're continuing to work on building these capabilities and providing them is around cloud migration, cloud brokering, and cloud orchestration. So again, we're obviously providing the network, but in order to facilitate that agility and flexibility that you talked about, it's important that we collectively get as many of the appropriate workloads as possible moved into the appropriate cloud environment, whatever that ends up being, depending on security requirements. And so we have a lot of experience within Leidos providing the DoD with capabilities to migrate workloads to the cloud, manage those workloads in the cloud, and sort of monitor them in real time, provide cybersecurity services for those. And so that's one of the things that we're going to continue to be building those services and that service catalog for the Navy and Marine Corps, is to be able to, with a really low barrier of entry, actually use our software factories, our cloud migration factories that we've built, use our DevSecOps pipelines. They're turnkey, they're ready to go. The Navy and the Marine Corps can come in and in some cases actually bring sailors and Marines that they're trying to train on low-code or no-code capabilities, sit them in our factories with side by side with our staff, and work on actually doing migrations. And then they've learned, they've trained while actually delivering migrations of capability to the cloud.
Gotcha. And I'm glad you brought up training, because one thing I wanted to ask about was workforce. What are the workforce requirements that are required to kind of implement these different technological ideas?
Yeah, I mean, it's really wide ranging. The contract, we have about almost 4,000 people supporting the contract. It's a large number of people, and they have a wide variety of requirements and skills. So we've got people who are network operators. They have requirements and certifications that they need to be able to perform that network operations job. We've got cybersecurity experts to perform that capability. Software application development. A lot of diversity in the kinds of skills that we're looking for. One of the things that I will say that is common as we continue to transform the network is significantly more of the network will become software defined, software controlled. So rather than having a very statically defined network, which requires a certain skill to maintain that sort of configuration control of a statically defined network, will now move into a much more software-defined network, which will require a different skill set. So I think we'll see more of the blend of what would traditionally have been software developers or application developers going into IT operations as the fundamental job of IT operations becomes scripting and writing the code to ensure the proper operation of the network.
So that sounds like it might require some reskilling, retraining, or shifting around people, certainly, to carry out these different jobs.
Yeah, and I think, again, that's one of the things that we're looking at internally within Leidos is how do we take our software factories, where most of our expertise around software development, where we may have junior software developers who have been classically trained in software development, who are looking for an opportunity. It's really critical that we give them an opportunity to come over and do network operations in a software-defined network. They then understand how the infrastructure runs, and then they potentially go back to our software factory, but now they bring with it the skill and the knowledge of how the infrastructure that their application is going to run on really works. And as we see sort of infrastructure as code start to take more hold, and these two things start to blend together between the skills required to do application development and the skills required to do infrastructure, I think that really unlocks a lot of power in industry for us to better appreciate both sides of that equation.
Yeah, and so as those folks are have been looking at the Navy Marine Corps intranet and kind of over the last year seeing what was there and has been there for perhaps decades in some cases, and now you have to shift that to the cloud in a lot of cases. How are they finding that? How cloud ready were some of these applications, and what kind of work goes into, it's not just as simple as lifting and shifting, as people say.
Yeah, I mean, I think from my point of view, the applications certainly takes a readiness assessment of cloud readiness, as you mentioned, and then determining how to move them into the cloud. But I'd focus a little bit specifically for this contract on how cloud ready is the network, which I don't think people necessarily talk about, right? They talk a lot about application readiness, but the reality is you move all these applications to the cloud, all you've done is potentially move the bottleneck of performance. So traditionally people talk about moving out of data centers and into the cloud because it removes the bottleneck that the data center provided, right? Legacy servers with spinning disks and things that were causing performative issues within the applications. You move to the cloud, you can eliminate all of that, take advantage of the scale. But the problem is, all you've done now is shift the performance bottleneck to the network, because now in order to get to that application, I don't just have to go to the data center that used to be on-prem. I've got to find my way to the cloud. And with some of the way that these networks have been constructed historically, as you said, 20 years ago, they weren't designed to prioritize access to cloud infrastructure, because it wasn't what it was, or wasn't what it is today. And so one of the main drivers within the Navy right now, and it's some of the very beginning transformation efforts that we've started already, was really about how do we cloud enable the network so that as the applications do move, including things like Microsoft 365, the performance of the network supports the needs of the application. Because it doesn't do you any good to move workloads to the cloud and then find out you're all waiting in the queue of the network to get through a very small pipe to get to that cloud. So that's what a lot of the focus has been on in the handful of months that we've been able to start delivering transformation. And it's something the Navy's been planning for a while, and we're happy to be able to jump in and help them get it across the finish line.
Kind of optimizing that network highway or widening it, does that require, perhaps working with the Defense Information Systems Agency, with telecom service providers, satellite service providers? Now, how are you approaching that?
Yeah, I mean, it's all of the above, right? Yeah. And it's really about changing the core architecture of the Navy's network so that the access points into that broader cloud infrastructure are co-located in the right place and with the right technology stack to allow that traffic to flow, right? We talk a lot about how many network hops does it take for a user sitting, at a base somewhere in this country, logged in, to be able to get to Microsoft 365 or to a particular data center that maybe was hosting their on-prem applications. And how do we change the number of network hops that it takes either when we move the application or when we flatten the network and make it more efficient for users across the country and across the world who are using this network to get to those services.
Yeah, and I think as we've seen with the Fix Our Computers letter, that DoD service members and personnel aren't going to necessarily accept less than optimal service anymore, right?
And I think that's appropriate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an easy problem to solve, right? And if it was, I'm sure it would have been done, right? But as we start to take advantage of some of these additional services, we need to figure out what can be divested. And I think you probably have seen some of this. I think you guys even recently were reporting on some of the feedback from the Navy about what they're doing relative to endpoint security applications that are running on these endpoints. And as Microsoft 365 comes around, what can we do to look at the Windows 10 capabilities, some of the core native capabilities that exist in these environments in order to reduce the burden on the endpoints and make the devices more usable for the Navy sailors and Marines that are using them. Another component of this is getting new hardware in people's hands, right? Which is another thing that has certainly been called out in the Fix My Computer sort of conversation is some of these devices are 5 years old. We've got lots of devices that are sitting on our network that we support today for the Navy that are 5 years or older. I don't know how old your computer is at home, but I bet it's not 5 years old.
No.
Most people aren't happy with that at their house, and they shouldn't be happy with that at work. And so, the other side of this contract that the Navy awarded is the end user hardware contract, which is a contract with HP to provide PCs effectively as a service, and it should increase the refresh cycle and allow those devices to get refreshed and refreshed maybe every 3 years instead of every 5. And so certainly we're in our seat supportive of that. We're working alongside HP to make sure that those devices get delivered to the Navy users that are waiting on them, and we'll help to make sure that happens.
All right. Yeah, I think many people will be happy to hear that. And in the final couple minutes that we have here, it sounds like this is a very dynamic time and you're early on in the contract, but what does the end state look like for this transformation process at this point? Can you speculate, or not speculate, but look at that at all?
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is I see the future of this as a eventual convergence of enterprise and mission capability. And I think the Navy and the Marine Corps have set themselves up really well for that continuing evolution of this capability. So more and more of the tactically focused mission capabilities are moving to the cloud or to commercial capabilities. And they're doing that because the capabilities are rapidly evolving, and they want to take advantage of that capability. And they're now secured to the point where for a lot of things, they're appropriate for real mission application delivery. What that does is it blurs the line between the enterprise capability, which is what we're generally delivering, certainly on the NMCI network, and the mission capabilities. And so as I think that line continues to blur, what becomes important is how do we ensure that the traditionally enterprise capability that we deliver enables the growth of the mission support applications that are becoming more and more important to interconnect. And so how can we do that using the enterprise capabilities that we're delivering? And so I think, I go back to some of our expertise in multi-domain operations and really bringing together all the various capabilities that I highlighted before that we bring to bear, whether it's mission application development, digital infrastructure, and cybersecurity. How do we bring all that together in a way that ensures that the enterprise network that we're delivering makes real the vision of pushing that capability as close to the tactical edge as possible, and ensuring that the value and the power of the entire enterprise capability that somebody sitting at the Pentagon today has is felt all the way as close to the fight as possible. And that's, I think, what the future holds. And it's going to take a lot to transform from where we are today to that point, but I think we're on the right track, and I think we're making good strides towards that.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today, but Eric, thank you for your insights. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. I'd like to thank today's guest again, Eric Moore, the VP and SMIT Delivery Manager at Leidos. I'm your moderator, Justin Doubleday, and you're listening to Federal News Network. Now let me send you back to the studio for more on the DoD Cloud Exchange.